Hello, here we are again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are exploring through these videos his disillusionist philosophy. We are trying to understand his misalgic theory about human behavior as aversion to suffering, basically. And as many of you already know, week after week, trying to apply some of these concepts to everyday life, to the news as they happen, as they reach us. We are now in late November 2021 amidst the COVID pandemic, of course, always. And today we are going to address an apparently very non-disillusionist topic, which is magic, which is the topic of magics and heroes and fantasy, and how magical solutions and heroic reactions play a part in everyday life, and they have played a special part in our handling of the pandemic. So from a disillusionist point of view, of course, but magic and heroes.
Well, disillusionist point of view, immediately magic and heroes. Everybody knows who's been following us that that's not exactly where disillusionism stands. But I would like to begin with the Bible story. We all know Bible is just a group of fantastic histories, beautifully some of them written. I have to say, I was raised with those stories. But there is one story that it's interesting to see how different is that story from magic. Now, the book of Exodus is where the story of the Jewish people, by then the people of Israel, were slaves in Egypt. This never happened. There were never slaves in Egypt. They were never in Egypt. Maybe they were on a visit, but they were not in Egypt. But it doesn't matter for this story, because the way the story is told is to convince the people who read it. That's the whole idea, yes? It's not like, let me tell you a fantasy. That would be, but here it is told as history. It's not a story, it's history. That's how they present it. So we have a Moses trying to free the people of Israel from slavery, and he negotiates with Pharaoh. At the time, the Pharaoh that was running Egypt theoretically, and instead of the magic thing, that means he comes to the Pharaoh or he does whatever magic, and the people are out. God is inside. It's very easy. One day, he could have taken everybody, and one day when where is the slaves? They're gone. I mean,
they vanished.
They didn't need to go to 40 years in the desert. The whole big story that there is around there, it's also true that as a story, it loses some shine, I have to say. And of course, suspense, because there is suspense. Moses goes to the Pharaoh, and when the Pharaoh does not allow people, of course, he needs the slaves. He's in the business of running slaves. You're taking all the stock with him. So he goes to Pharaoh, the story, and he says, I will, if you don't let them go, I will bestow against. I don't know if it's bestowing, but I will send you plagues, and there are 10 plagues, one after the other, until Pharaoh allows them to go, and then he even not then. But the interesting story is that there is no magical solution. There is magic involved, but every time magic is done to make the Pharaoh scared. The whole idea is that allow the Pharaoh to let the people go, not to be presented with a certain fact. That kind of development is a logical one. When you tell a story that is not true and you want it to pass as true, you better try to keep it as logical, as commonsensical as possible. And in that story, that very long process from which the people of Israel go from Egypt to end up in the land of Israel, that thing takes a long time, and it's a big process, and it makes sense from that point of view. Okay, I'm not saying it really makes sense, but it does. So why am I bringing that? Because the other option is this other kind of fables. The werewolf is one that we all know, and the only way to kill the werewolf is the silver bullet. So they shoot him with a silver bullet, and the wolf dies or becomes a person. I don't know what happens, but it is solved. The problem is solved. That's it. One bullet, silver bullet, end of story. Same thing with vampires, yes? The vampires have to be stuck, I think, with the wooden the cross. I don't remember. I'm sorry, I'm not proficient in that. But it's also magic. They do that. That's it. It's gone. It evaporates. It almost retroactively evaporates. It's finished. It's over. That kind of solution is happening now. People are expecting that kind of solution, not the Moses kind, yes, not the process. Magic bullets, silver bullets, magic solutions, and I will give you the example. The best and most biggest example is the one we're living in. That's the pandemic, as you probably know. And if you don't know, may I remind you, we are still in the midst of a pandemic, and we are very far from the end of the pandemic. Of course, we are closer than the beginning, but we don't know
absolutely
when. Nor how will it disappear with a bullet. That's what people thought. So the first thing was we'll have a vaccine. The vaccine will solve the problem. The vaccine did not solve the whole problem, made it much easier. From here, I want to be clear, you should go to get the vaccine. To be clear, we are very much in favor of vaccines, but it is not a silver bullet. It wasn't meant to be a silver bullet. And so then we have problems because, of course, it wanes. What biology is that way. Biology is not a clear-cut thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Remember that people are very accustomed to go to a doctor with some kind of illness. They get a pill or a group of pills, could be an antibiotic, and it's gone. Even a headache, it's gone. We are accustomed to the magic bullet that technology gave us. Of course, until we had that magic bullet, there was a whole process that ended in what today we call it the magic bullet, of course. So what we had the vaccine was the first one. Then they say we'll get herd immunity. Herd immunity, 70%. When you hear a number that is 70 exactly, probably we're talking about something that does not exist. So silver bullet will be the herd immunity. Herd immunity did not work, of course, not in 70%. Now they say it's 90. Nobody knows. It still doesn't work. What happens? People it is biology. It works how it works, when it works, and not always. And because it worked in other viruses, it didn't happen. And finally, we have now the new drug. Merck and especially Pfizer came up with the drug, 80, 90, 50%, 80%, 90%, doesn't matter. Great. Silver bullet. And that's how it was written in the newspaper. The silver bullet for the pandemic. And of course, it is not. It's very hard to make. It's very hard to administer. It's very expensive. And they don't know if it works with people who are vaccinated. They don't know what will be the long-term results. It's a drug that you will ingest that will do something to your body. So it may be a big weapon in the arsenal against the pandemic. So instead of understanding that this is a process, people every time get disappointed that the silver bullet that they were promised didn't work. Florencio, what do you think about all this?
I perfectly follow the logic between the promise of a silver bullet, of a magical solution, and there's usually someone shooting the silver bullet. That's the hero in the magical tale which they receive, and the frustration that the failure of the silver bullet entails. But I wanted to ask you, it's clear to me that the hero is that one who presents us with the magical solution, that pretends to shoot the silver bullet. But aren't we all somehow part of this deal? Aren't we all somehow expecting a silver bullet? I know there is a push, and I follow your description of how players and heroes and anyone aspiring to a position of power presents us with a silver bullet, a magical solution. But don't we all somehow expect that to happen? Isn't there a demand also proportional to that offer?
Absolutely. I was said it before. You take an antibiotic. I mean, this was the expectation of everybody. Everybody expects silver bullets. Of course, we made a video about the way that we be infantilized by the politicians. You remember? And at that video, I said they treat us as children. But we are behaving like children. Let me give you another example that has to do not directly but indirectly with the pandemic, and that's the issue of inflation. Let me remind everybody, there was a pandemic, people could not go to work. So what they say, let's print some money, give it to everybody, and that will solve the problem. And when they say there will be inflation, no, there will not be inflation because it's the pandemic, it's a special situation. Of course, that was a stupid idea, because I don't have to tell, because you say, I take money from what I don't have, I just print the money, and the only thing I do is I take a cake and I cut the pieces every time thinner until you can break the atom by doing that. It doesn't work. So if you print money without any economical backing, without GDP behind it, or without gold behind it, or whatever, or oil, you are going to have inflation. And it's not me, Mookie, that says that. This is the economic theory all over the place. And suddenly everybody's very surprised. Everybody's disappointed. But you took the money, and what do you think will happen? If that would have been a solution, why do we need a pandemic for that? We could have done it all the time. Nobody would have worked ever. We would have just pushed the button, and everybody will have all the money they need. It reminds me, when talking about children, when I had my daughter, she was 3 years old. One day she came to me and she says she wanted me to buy something for her. I said, I don't have any money. She says, why? Go to the wall and get the money. An ATM, she means, of course. The wall gives you money. Well, there is no limit of money, yes? We go back to Moses and hitting a rock to get water, yes? It's about the same idea. It's magic. For the child, it's magic. And instead of growing up from that situation, we are now expecting magic. And governments of the illusions of the countries of the states keep making announcement as if they were heroes, as if they was magic. So the Prime Minister of Denmark, I'm not talking about Uganda, yes, Denmark, a month ago announced that COVID is over. That's it. It's an endemia. It's not pandemic. She changed the words, and magically, abracadabra, yes, it's the thing. It's hocus pocus, abracadabra. Few words, and it's gone. And Denmark now is in the midst, of course, of a new wave of COVID. So this is the problem. The problem is that both sides, the politicians who are part of us, yes, I mean, this is not people who were born in Mars, yes, they were born here, among us, and they go, and everybody's, I agree, misogynically speaking, running away from suffering. The politician is doing, and we are doing, and most of the people in this world are doing, is looking at what's happening and expecting miracles, expecting immediacy. Yes, you turn on the television and you turn off the television. Yes, there is a lot of magic going on. Yes, but of course we know it's technology, so we expect just a little bit more. Let's end up this pandemic.
This is what I was going to ask you in some way. Do we only take this demand for magical, miraculous, immediate solutions from fantasy, from myth, or are there actually in everyday life, in historical circumstances, situations which allow for immediate solutions? I don't want to say magical solutions, but silver bullet sort of solutions.
Of course, first of all, we live by momentous things. So when the man arrived to the moon, it seems like magic. But not only that, we have. Let me give you an example of how this is not working. Why are some people not falling for this magic? When Pfizer announced that their drug was so successful treating COVID, people everybody said it's the silver bullet. In fact, they used those words, silver bullet, and the stock should have shot up. I don't know, like Tesla, 10 times in the value. I don't know. No, only 11%. You know why only 11%? Because those are the small investors, those who believe in magic. The rest are huge investors, serious people who, if they would believe in magic, they wouldn't be big investors. They would be very small investors. So they understand there is no magic, and there is no magic with the people. Of course, it's great. It's great news. We are not arguing about it, but it's a process, and it no epics, no adjectives. Remember, this disillusionism, just the bare facts. You have to wait until things are, and the pandemic eventually, I am sure, will go away. Will go away. I don't know if you will say eventually or not, but it will go away. But it will not be by a magic bullet. Not the pandemic, not the inflation, not anything. Okay. This is how I see it. I don't know, how do you see it on this?
I think somehow we are expecting the virus to surrender, or when you were mentioning the other silver bullets, I remembered one that it was just a benign, I don't know how to say it, mutation. It would suddenly, out of its own momentum, stop fighting and come up with the hands up.
That argument, I read it today in the I think it was in the Telegraph, in the British newspaper, that say there is a new mutation, that it's 14% of the British people have it, that it seems that it's less virulent, it's as contagious or more contagious, but the outcome is less terrible for the people who get sick. And they already there was the next week we will hear, well, that's it, that's the end of it. The pandemic is gone because somebody did that or the other thing. Again, it's magic, it's heroes, it's epic, it's adjectives. If you take all out of it, you get reality. Reality is disillusionism 101. This is it. This is what we have, and we have to learn to deal with it. There is no other way. Illusions will not help, and of course, people are Florencio. For people, and you have to understand, people are having a better time believing there will be a magic bullet.
Of course.
No doubt. But if they do that, two things will happen. One, they will get disappointed, because this is a given, unless, the one in a million. That's number one that will happen to them. And the second one is that if we need them to help, they're not available. They're waiting. They won't. Of course, it's much more work. There is a suffering included, and having your brain there. But the results are scientific. If you do this, this will happen. That is not a magic bullet. That is cause and effect.
Very well. I think we've covered the subject thoroughly. We'll see each other next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.